Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday night edition of our ILCA 5-day challenge. My name is your Queen Connectress, Miss Marnita Casa, and I will be your humble hostess for this evening. Now, there is something that I always like to say, and that is we totally understand that there are so many different things that you could be doing with your time, and that the nighttime is the right time for family and for preparation of the next day. So the fact that you guys decided to come on out and hear what we have to say, of course, it makes us so very happy. So again, thank you all so very much for being here. Now, as you can see, again, I am very, very excited to be here in very, very good spirits. Those of you that have been to our challenges before, you guys know this is my favorite time of the month. Not only do we get a chance to come together, we get a chance to learn, we get a chance to grow, and to be able to get some golden nuggets from some professionals who have done it, who have succeeded in the field that we're trying to succeed in. So this is always a wonderful time. Now, I see all of us coming on in. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for being here and for being on our Zoom side. Hello, sweetheart. As you guys come on in, please type your name and where you are from in the chat box. That way I have a chance to tell everybody who is here with us on the Zoom side. And if you have the opportunity, please turn on your cameras. One of the best parts about being on a Zoom call like this is that we get a chance to see all your faces, see those beautiful smiles, and it makes for a much more personal experience for everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and start saying hello to everybody because I see you guys coming on in. First up, of course, is Mr. CJ, the right choice for me. Hello, sir. How are you? Thank you so very much for being with us this evening. It is always good to see you. Of course, we have the esteemed Professor Oscar Sistrunk with us this evening. Hello, sir. Thank you so much for being here. It is always good to see you. I see we also have the beautiful Miss Demetrius Turner is here with us today. Hi, sweetheart. She is coming on in from Texas. Thank you so much for being here. Of course, there is the king of ILCA. I'm talking to you, Mr. Prelvis Lofties. He is coming on in from Corpus Christi. I love that smile, sir. Thank you so much for being here and bringing your energy. I see my good friend, Mr. Fetty Sherman, is here with us this evening. Hi, Fetty. I see you. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. There is the beautiful Miss Patty Geis is coming on in from San Diego, California. Hello, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. It is always good to see that smile. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I see the wonderful Miss Carla Arrigo is here with us this evening. Hi, Carla. How are you, sweetheart? Thank you so much for being here with us today. Mr. Professor Sistrunk is coming on in all the way from Foxwoods Casino, Connecticut. Professor, I used to live in Bridgeport, Connecticut, so I know about that casino. Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. I see we have the lovely Miss Loretta Winder is here with us. Hi, Loretta. How are you? Thank you so much for being a part of our community. She is coming on in from Raleigh, North Carolina. There's my good friend, Mr. Nathan Hansberger. Hi, Nathan. He is coming on in from Las Vegas, Nevada. Uh-oh. Miss Judy Emdom is here from Canada. She says she is getting her steps in. Good girl. Thank you so much for being with us this evening, Queen. I see we have the wonderful Miss Gina Muhammad just came in from Philadelphia. Thank you so much for being here. And there is the beautiful Janelle Appling coming on in from Colorado. And of course, a new member of our ILCA Inner Circle. I am talking about Miss Rita Bouchard coming on in from San Diego. Thank you so much for being here, Queen. It is so good to have you as part of our community. I see we have the lovely Miss Allie B. Yes, ma'am, I see you. I see Allie B is here with us this evening, and so is my good friend, Mr. Clairvaux Albert. Of course, he is coming on in from Connecticut. Thank you so much for being with us, sir. I see we have the lovely Miss Jacqueline Briggs. Hello, Queen. How are you? It is always good to see you. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Now, as you guys can see, our family is coming on in. If you are watching on our YouTube side, hello, everyone. By tomorrow, I promise I will have you guys up so I can be able to shout out all of our friends on YouTube, but still, nevertheless, you guys type your name and where you are coming on in from. so I can see you next time and so that everybody can see who is here with us on our YouTube side. Definitely get back with the person who invited you or referred you. You want to get that link so you can be in the inner circle and on the VIP Zoom call. Okay, you guys, we're at the top of the hour, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, thank you all so much for attending our Tuesday night edition of the ILCA 5-Day Challenge. My name is your Queen Connectress, Miss Marnita Casa, and I am your humble hostess for this evening. Now, it is my honor to introduce you all to a man that for over 25 years dominated the direct sales industry. His cryptocurrency education is being used by companies and universities worldwide. For over 6 years, he dedicated his life to learning about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, but he didn't just stop there. He decided to go out, share his information with the masses, and he did this by putting on fun and exciting Bitcoin boot camps nationwide at no cost. He has built thriving communities and wonderful platforms like you see before you now. So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce you all to Mr. Brandon Ivey.
All right, all right. Thank you for that introduction, Miss Casa, and welcome everybody to night 2 of our 5-day challenge. As we stated yesterday, we were gone for the past 2 months as we were relaunching ILCA, and you're going to be seeing on Thursday night and then on Sunday a lot of the new stuff that we have to offer our community. So thank you guys for being here. I mean, we are in the midst of a heated presidential election going on. I stated it in our crypto talk. We have crazy times happening from now to the election day. But at the same time, we're going to be learning how these events will be impacting the crypto market and why you need to be in the space. You need to be crypto educated because this is something that's going to happen anyway. Now, last night, we focused on what blockchain technology is. And I stated that in 2017, it was in May, I realized that blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet today, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you understand it or not. Your opinion of this is irrelevant. This is already happening. If you've been in our crypto talks, you've heard me say all year, I've been waiting to see when the whole topic of crypto will start to be politicized, and it already is. We see a changing of the winds when it comes to this being a political topic of crypto, and everybody is now becoming aware of it. Just happened today, the Ethereum spot ETFs have been approved. So we're going to start seeing some action from that. This was the Bitcoin halving year. This is election year. We had the Bitcoin spot ETFs this year. So there's a lot happening in this space, and it's too big to ignore. You cannot ignore it. So I want to applaud those of you who are back for night 2 and welcome those of you who are brand new, especially all of you on YouTube. As we stated before, we're not streaming on Facebook. We're using all of our own tools. So our own YouTube channel, we're streaming live for the public. Last night, I kept the line open at the end so that you guys on YouTube could see the Q&A, but we're not doing that tonight. Tonight, I will stop the stream, and the Q&A is just for our VIP members here on Zoom with us. You still have time to join us even before we finish tonight. If you go to ilcacryptonews.com and register to be a VIP member, you can still be a VIP member before the night is over. So before we get into our lesson tonight, which is how do cryptocurrencies work, I have an esteemed guest panelist I'd like to introduce you guys to. It's been a couple of months since you've seen him. This is an individual I have a lot of respect for many reasons. Number one, we have the same alma mater. Number two, he was my college professor at Morehouse College. And he is a renowned expert now in the crypto space, really specifically talking about how the real estate portion of this space works, Bitcoin halving, NFTs, tokenization. He was one of the first professor to start bringing and talking about cryptocurrency to his college students. And tonight I asked if he can come here and speak about, since our theme tonight is back to the basics, on his background, why he decided to even start looking in crypto and talking about it when nobody else was, why he believes education in this space is so important, and where he believes this is going in the future. So without any further ado, I want to bring up our esteemed professor from Morehouse College, Professor Oscar Sistrunk. Go right ahead, sir. You should be able to unmute now. Wait, try one more time. There you
All
go.
right, I got it. All right, Mr. Ivey, thank you. And of course, the esteemed Miss Casa. Thank you for bringing me out here today to talk about my journey towards cryptocurrency, blockchain, and where I think it's headed. And this is a good time for me to talk about it. You know, you talk about how things come together. This past Saturday was my birthday. And I hate to say it. Well, I guess I should be proud to say it, but I turned 68.
All right.
And it happens to be the 50th anniversary, not only of my high school graduation, but also this is about the time I was getting ready to on my journey to Atlanta and Morehouse College as a freshman. So 50 years ago, I was in New Jersey, getting my mother packing me up, getting ready to send me off and my father to send me off to college. Unbeknownst to me, I was headed for one of the greatest adventures of my life. And I ended up in Atlanta and never left. So I'm kind of doing I told my kids and grandkids, I'm kind of doing a 50-year journey here this past weekend. And this is a good time to also talk about my journey towards cryptocurrency, because it started for me all the way back in 1972. And again, my background is I graduated from Morehouse in accounting back in 1978, went and got a master's degree in real estate from Georgia State. And then I started teaching at Morehouse in 1980. So again, I can't believe it's been 40 some years I've been teaching there. And during that time period, I also became a commercial real estate appraiser. So I appraised commercial real estate throughout the United States and the Caribbean. And then I also teach entrepreneurship, information systems, and real estate classes at Morehouse. So it started for me all the way back in 72, as I think about it, as a sophomore in high school. I was at a school that had access to a mainframe computer. And a math teacher introduced us to how to program a mainframe computer. And I was hooked on it ever since. I think of it back then, it's like, man, it's like, I can't believe what we were doing, but we were actually writing programs using basic language. We then put them on these little cards, and they'd run the card through the machine, and it would then come back with your answer. And that was, big fancy stuff back then. Later on in the 70s, they used to call me in the middle 70s, even at Morehouse, I was considered a geek because I would be sitting down writing computer code. And people would say, why are you writing computer code? IBM and DEC computers and all these companies, they already had the computer industry, under wraps. Why are you trying to program? There's no future in that. But I just liked doing it. I thought that eventually there would be. And then there was a company called Heath Hits. They used to have stores where you could build your own radios and TVs. And then they had a kit where you could build your own computers. So in the late 70s, I used to build computers and program. It was just a hobby, things I liked to do. Not realizing what was going to come in the future. It was just something I liked. And then in the early 1980s, when I was teaching at Morehouse, Texas Instruments brought the 2 personal computers to the business department. I was the youngest person there, and I was the only person who knew what to do with it. Everybody looked at it in marvel and said, okay, we turn this thing on, and the C prompt would come up. Anybody old enough to remember a computer with a C prompt? They would look and say, a C prompt? What do we do? And I remember in the meeting, I said, oh, I know what to do. And I sat there and started coding and bringing up stuff. Oh, if you do this, it'll give you this answer. If you do that, and everybody was sitting there amazed. And eventually they told me, you need to write a class to teach that. So I started a class in about 84, teaching students how to build computers and how to program. And from then all the way till now, that started in about 1984. And then by 2014, I'm still teaching that class, I introduced Bitcoin, right? So way back then, right? You look at a 35-year period. We went from personal computers, and those personal computers, if anybody here remembers, you used to have to hook it up to a typewriter. We had typewriters as printers, and you hook it up, you sit there and write out whatever the letters or stuff you would do, and then hook it up to a typewriter, and the typewriter would sit there and actually print it out page by page. And we thought that was so fancy. I was like, oh man, you can make corrections, you can spell check. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff. This is amazing. And all the way to laser computer. I remember when lasers came out, that was like the greatest thing ever in the late 80s, early 90s. I say that because cryptocurrency is like that now. Bitcoin and the blockchain is like that now. If you think about it, even 14 years ago or so when it first started, and look at where it is now, we're in the early stages. This is the time to learn. I was lucky enough to learn in the 70s when I wasn't getting paid. It was a hobby. It was something I liked to do. And I didn't realize, but I was teaching myself and I was learning about this stuff. So that then when it rolled out, I was ahead of the curve. I was able to make an income and a living off this stuff when just teaching people about it, showing them how it worked. And everybody would just sit there in amazement. And for me, it's just been step by step. In the 90s, when the internet first came out, I hate to say it, but I was using the internet early on to kind of bootleg movies. I remember I could download movies. I said, this is amazing. First movie I ever downloaded was Car Wash, one of my favorite movies. I said, wow, it took me all night. I could download Car Wash and then show it to my friends whenever I wanted to. This is like amazing. I said, I got to learn about this internet thing. So what I did is I signed up for AOL so I could learn how to do it. And this is, before HTML code, right? So you had to basically write, and you had bulletin boards and all this kind of stuff. Early internet, you used to have dial-up, right? Everybody remember dial-up. And you're sitting there and you're waiting for it, and it's dialing up, and you slowly but surely, and then the modems got faster and faster all through the 90s. I remember going to computer shows. They used to have them every year in Atlanta, and learning what's called voice over IP, using the phone line, using the internet instead of Bell South. I thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I remember going and calling my wife up and said, you know what? I'm talking to you across the internet, and I'm not using the Bell South system. I told Bell South I was going to get rid of them one day, and now that day is coming. And as I look back at it, it was not only interesting, but I was just slowly learning. I would take classes. I would do things to try and stay ahead of the curve, right? And as internet first came out, people thought it was a fad. I remember, and I've got video I show in class back in the 80s, back in the 90s, when people thought that the internet was like just going to be there for a while and eventually would go away. How is the internet going to replace the newspaper? That's impossible. How is it going to replace television? That's impossible, right? Just think about it. In the 90s, that's now 30 years ago. Nobody would have thought it would have been like it is now. But by learning early and getting involved in it, as these things change and move, you'll be at the forefront. And that's why you take these classes. That's why I learn every day, even about crypto. But think about it. When the internet first came out, we had dial-up. Then we had eventually broadband. And I remember getting a T1 line at Morehouse. In about 96, we got a T1 line. That was like unbelievable. You didn't have to dial up. You could just push a button and you were on the internet. Holy cow. And it was really fast. Now I could download an illegal movie in 30 minutes instead of overnight. This is unbelievable. And it just kept continuing and continuing. And it slowly moves. And before you know it, it completely changed everything. I tell people now, look at, anybody here ever been to a bank branch lately? Think of what the banks used to be like. You go to a branch bank now, I tell people bank branches are like zombies. They're dead, they just don't know it yet. There's nobody in there, right? Maybe some old folks like me might be in there, the deposit money, maybe the check or something. But I just look around and said, man, I remember when you had to wait in line forever to get to somebody at the bank. You used to have to rush to the bank Friday to cash a check. You had to rush to the bank to deposit. I remember when ATMs first came out, I thought they were a scam. I said, there's no way I'm going to use an ATM. For what? I'm going to put, you mean I could put this card in here and I could withdraw $20 out of my account? What if I ask for 20 and they only give me 10? I'm going to turn this bank out. So I'm not going to use ATM. No way. Right? Then eventually you start using it, it starts working. Then I remember when he said, you mean I could deposit, I could take a check somebody gives me and deposit into the ATM, and then the next day it shows up in my account? Oh, I'm not going to do that. Because when I put that check in there, they just
I think we lost a professor. He's stuck. You still seeing the same thing I am, Marnita? Let's give it. There he's back.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back now.
All right. Sorry about that. But I was saying, you know, and let me know if I lock up on you. Okay. But what I was saying again is ATMs, as they came out, you slowly but surely adapted to them. It didn't happen overnight. For me, it took a while. I remember when Morehouse said they were going to do automatic deposit. I said, there's no way I'm going to let the bank automatically deposit my check. I'm going to the cashier every Friday, get my check, and I'm going to deposit it in the bank myself. Because I want to make sure that check clears, and I don't want them to have access to my bank because they might try to take money out of it. And then I'm going to have to go up there to the bank, and we're going to be fighting up in there. So that's not going to work, right? It took me a long time to accept the, automatic deposit. But this takes, when you think about it, it takes decades for things to change. It took me a while to change to accept ATM. It took me a while to eventually, now I don't even use currency. I don't use paper currency anymore. Remember when you had to go to the bank and cash a check and get money out for the weekend? Right? Friday nights, that's why the banks were open late on Friday, because everybody go in there, cash their checks, pull some money out for the weekend. Now you go ahead and you don't even care about that. The money automatically in the account. You just use your debit or credit card and call it a day. I'm not, I don't go to the bank for anything. Really, I just go in there just to look around and remember what it used to be like. But that's about it, right? So think about this. As we move from paper, we now have moved to plastic, right? Everything's on our debit card and credit card. But if you think about that, how do you know your debit card and credit card works? From trial and error, constantly using it, and eventually everybody adapts to it. Now, when I go someplace and people say, you want to pay for, are you paying cash or are you paying card? And I ask people, what's cash? I said, are you a baby boomer or something? What is that? Is this the 1990s? I haven't seen cash in about 20 years. I still got old checks sitting down there in my office. I ain't used them checks in who knows how long. So I always get a laugh out of them because I'm like, unless you're a boomer or something, I don't know why you're talking about currency, cash. Of course I'm using plastic. Well, think about that. At one point, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, they're going to be talking about cryptocurrency, right? Are you going to be using Bitcoin? Are you going to be using Ethereum when you pay for things? It's going to get beyond plastic. And it's just going to be probably a chip on your finger or something. You put your finger on there and it connects to everything and you just pay with crypto. So the key now is to learn about it, right? Learn it now. When I brought it up in 2014, I decided once I learned about crypto, what's great about teaching young people, especially technology, is I've got to stay ahead of that, right? I can't come into a classroom and have the students know something that I don't know. So I've got to stay ahead. So I had to learn, as I heard about Bitcoin and crypto, I had to learn about it. And I said, let me start introducing it. And so I started introducing it in 2014 when Bitcoin was $68 a coin. And I remember telling students, I said, man, why don't you this weekend, instead of spending $100 to take that young lady to the movies and dinner and then maybe to the club, why don't you have her come over and watch Netflix and cook some spaghetti and buy you a Bitcoin and just see what happens. Just hold on to it. If this thing works, it could make you a ton of money. If not, then hey, all you did was miss a dinner date that may not amount to anything anyway. Who knows? So I had some students who at the time owned some Bitcoin and then actually bought some. Now at the time I didn't, because I wasn't quite, I don't know about it. I wish I did listen to myself. It wasn't until 2017 when I ran into a Bitcoin ATM machine. And the student, I was talking, some guys were lined up. I said, what are you doing with this? And they said, well, we're buying Bitcoin by putting cash into an ATM machine. And I was just amazed. And I said, well, how much is Bitcoin? And they said it was $2,000. And I think I fainted. I couldn't believe it. And I still played around with it. And by 2019, I got into it when it was about $3,500, but which was the right thing to do. So a lot of, I can go back and say, man, I wish 10 years ago I bought it at 68. But I'll tell you what, I wish 5 years ago in 2019, I had bought a bunch of it at 3,500. And I'll tell you what, 5 years from now, I wish I bought a bunch of it at $50,000, $60,000. That's what we're talking about. Now's the time to learn about it, because eventually, with like Mr. Ivey was saying, I'm really into real estate and cryptocurrency. Something called, you'll hear, it's called real live assets, or was it? Yeah, RWA, I guess, real world assets, and the real estate tokenization. That's where it's all headed. And here's the great thing about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in particular. Those that are early adapters, you don't have to be a major corporation. You can be an individual. That's the key. Even going back to early 80s and late 70s, when I was playing around with personal computers, I didn't have to wait for Microsoft or anybody to tell me. I could start playing around with that stuff early myself and become an early adopter. So now you learn and play around, find out where you fit in and become an early adopter, get in on the ground floor before BlackRock and JP Morgan and all them other folks that, by the way, they're lying to you. They're in it, they just lying. Okay? All of them, Jamie Dimon, all of them. They're trying to keep the price down so that they can jump in it first. But if you're in it now, eventually, once they take over and they're running it, which is getting ready to start here soon, the price is going to eventually, really take off. And it's a long-term, multi-generational global asset. Imagine buying real estate in New York City in the 1910s or 1915. A lot of those people bought that land. By the fact, they took a lot of it from people that were already there, but they took that land and then they pass it on from generation to generation. They don't sell that stuff. A lot of people, it just goes from family, throughout the family, because they're not making any more land over there in Manhattan. And they're not making that much more Bitcoin either. So now, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any of the others, there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of them that are brand new that nobody knows about, that are going to be household names one day. Just like this crazy company that I was thinking about investing in called Microsoft. What Microsoft? What the heck is that? Or when we started using Google, I'm like, Google? What the heck is Google? Man, I had fooling around with that. That sounds like a scam or something. So same thing here. You hear something like Solana. What is Solana? What is? Well, now's the time to find out. And who knows? Throw a few dollars in there and your grandkids could be set for their whole life. That's kind of how I look at it. So I'm going to turn it back over and kind of talk. That was kind of like my march from mainframe computers to where we are now. And I think the future is bright. I'm in it. Now I'm in it for my grandkids. At 68, I'm trying to set my grandkids up. I got 5 of them. I got to get them educated, help them get them educated, but I want to set them out so that when it's my time to go, I can give each one of them 1 Bitcoin. I think they'll be set right there.
All right, all right. Thank you, Professor Sistrunk, for sharing that information. You guys give it up for Professor Sistrunk, and you're going to be seeing more of them because one of the things of us relaunching ILCA is it's giving us a lot of freedom and momentum and actually a platform where we're going to be putting Professor Sistrunk some of his lessons and teachings up for you guys to have access to. You're going to see next month, you'll be seeing more about what on our marketing side is going to be doing. Marnita's going to be sharing some things with you guys. We're going to show you not only how you can become an affiliate with ILCA, but we're also going to show you how you can partner with ILCA. So thank you, Professor Sistrunk. If you got time, if you can stick around for Q&A at the end with everybody, we'd appreciate that. So, all right, everybody, let's move on to our lesson for tonight, which is how do cryptocurrencies work? Since last night we talked about just what is the blockchain. I said there's millionaires in crypto right now that don't even understand or know what the blockchain is. There's people that are active in this space that are still uneducated, but they're in this space. This week, a lot of our members of our community are on the whole MQT Avalanche launch that just took place. And that is a community that is involved in crypto, yet still needs their hand held on some of the basic things. And I want to give it up to you guys in our community, Herschel, Crow, and Ken for extending that helping hand to help everybody. But imagine where it would be if everybody had the knowledge already, was crypto educated, invested their time. I tell people this, and when they come up to me and say, Brandon, I got $10,000, $50,000, where should I put it? What should the first thing I should do in crypto? I say, get crypto educated first. Invest in crypto education. No, I'll just watch some YouTube videos. Just tell me where I need to go. I'm like, no. You don't understand. Invest in your education first. Everything else will fall in place. Who here remembers the 4 rules of crypto that we talked about yesterday? I'm not going to repeat it, but I want you guys to type it in the chat box. The 4 rules of crypto. And even though guys on YouTube, go ahead and type it as well. I see you, Lady Alicia Hamilton, another individual that's going to be partnering with ILCA. Alicia Hamilton was actually married to Alexander Hamilton, who was the main, man, I can't give his entire resume. He was the conductor of the Voices of Inspiration, a choir that my parents actually met in and got married with in Compton, California at Double Rock Baptist Church. So I'm glad to have Lady Alicia on here tonight, and I'm partnering with her as well. You're going to hear from her next month or so. But type in the chat box, what are my 4 rules? I want to see something here. Who's paying attention? Another thing about our new ILCA is we're going to be more interactive. It's not just me lecturing to you. I want to make sure you guys are learning this. So this is our first 5-day challenge back, but the future ones, we're going to be doing giveaways. We're going to be doing quizzes. We're going to be doing some tests. You guys are going to learn this stuff. We're going to show you how to apply the knowledge that you're earning. And Thursday night, you're going to see our entire ecosystem that we've built behind the scenes for you to jump in on. So tonight's lesson is, how do cryptocurrencies work? I told you guys last night that in 2017 in May, I learned 2 things that changed my life. The first was about blockchain technology. The second thing that I learned is that cryptocurrency represents the greatest economic shift in wealth in the history of mankind for the most amount of people. You don't understand how big that statement is. You see, there have been other advancements and opportunities in wealth in history before: the third industrial revolution, the gold rush, the oil rush, the land grab of the West when the United States was forming and stealing all the land from the Native Americans. But there's been opportunities in the past. The problem is not all of our ancestors had the ability to take advantage of those opportunities. This fourth industrial revolution, there's no barrier of entry. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you were born, what language you speak, the color of your skin, whether you're a man, woman, or child, whether you're rich or poor, whether you have a college education or not. There's no nepotism, sexism, racism in crypto. It's math. There's no central authority telling you you're not qualified or you're a DEI candidate. None of that matters. What matters at the end of the day is just three things. Number one, do you have a cell phone? I don't have to convince you to have one because everybody's got a cell phone. Number two, do you have access to the internet? That's almost going to be global. Not more of a privilege, but a right. And the third thing is the most difficult thing, but everybody has. Do you have a willingness to learn? That's personal. That there's nothing I can do to force you to do that. Those of you who are here tonight, you're taking that first step. You're willing to learn, and then you've got to be willing to apply. I remember it was years ago, I had people that had been part of my crypto talks for 2-3 years. And 3 years later, come to find out they never bought a Bitcoin or any parts of Bitcoin. They just like listening. I'm like, no. I'm not here just to entertain you. You're to learn and apply what you're learning. But if you have those three things, you are a walking ATM machine. You can change not only your life, but your family's tree. Like Professor Sistrunk said, he's doing this for his grandchildren. If it has to be, it's up to me. Who's going to be that one person in your family tree that sets everything apart? Is it going to be you? Let me scare you just a little bit. Professor Sistrunk took you on a history lesson on how technology has changed from the 70s until today. But because we are in today and today's technology, our entire lives are being recorded on the net. Social media. We take pictures and selfies. We write our journals on social media. We're recording videos and audio. We're doing birthdays and anniversaries, celebrations. Your descendants will know your voice. Your descendants will know what you look like. Your descendants will know your hobbies. I don't know my great-grandfather's hobbies and what he sounded like, what he really looked like outside of maybe 2 pictures. I don't know anything. But your descendants will know everything about you. And when they read the history books about this time, this crypto revolution, this financial revolution, and they wonder, why are we still broke? And they're going to go back and say, what was grandma, great-grandpa doing in those early days when Bitcoin was less than $100,000 a coin? What were they doing? And they're going to go on your social media, because on the internet it's there forever, and see what BS you talking about. I'm so glad we didn't have this internet era in the 90s when I was in Atlanta, the whole Freaknik era. Woo! I'm so glad I survived that, and there's no record of anything, the antics and things I did in the 90s. But that's no longer the case today. And one thing about me coming from Morehouse is I'm all about legacy. And what are my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren? I want them to know Pop Ivey up there. We have what we have today because of what he did during this time. So now let's learn something here. How do cryptocurrencies work? When I first heard about Bitcoin, it was 2010. It was around 1 or 2 in the morning. I was watching like G4 TV, which is for nerds about computer gaming and computer rigs. And it was real late at night. And they were interviewing this one computer nerd, this gamer. at his house. And he had his whole room rigged up and neon lights and all this. And he had built a new rig. And then the interviewer said, well, what do you got over there? Because on the side, he had two other laptop or PCs that was up and running, but no real monitors connected to them. He's like, what's that? He said, well, those are my old rigs. So, well, what are you doing? He says, I'm mining Bitcoin. I said, mining Bitcoin? I kind of heard of that. What is that? He said, well, it's like some new form of digital money. So I'm mining it. And he was like, I'm getting thousands of Bitcoins. Now, at the time when I heard that, I thought it was nothing but monopoly money used by nerds who live in their mom's basement playing World of Warcraft all day. I didn't think there was nothing real to it. Monopoly money. I heard about it again in 2012. It reached $100 a coin. I heard about it again 2014 when a business partner of mine in Japan, her name is Tracy Consoli, she owns a restaurant called the Pink Cow in Tokyo, made national news in Japan for having the first Bitcoin ATM machine in there, 2014. Did I do anything at the time? No. I talked about it on Facebook, and now every year, Facebook memories, that post pops up, and I want to. I bought Bitcoin for the first time in 2016. I shared that story last night. But I thought it was nothing but monopoly money. But to understand Bitcoin and crypto, you got to understand money. How many of you listened to the River of Money special I did last month? Most people don't even know what money is. All they know is I got to go to work. They're going to give me a paycheck and it pays my bills. And by the end of the month, I'm broke again. So I got to keep working just to live paycheck to paycheck. You got to know what money is. In the very early days, people exchanged value via a barter system of trading goods, followed by the development of commodity money, like silver and gold coins, as they were easy to carry and divide and had a level of scarcity that provided value. With the rise of banking arose a debt-based system where we deposited gold with the bank and they issued us a piece of paper representing how much gold we had with the bank. After all, it's much easier to carry around paper bills than a bag of gold. But in 1971, President Nixon abolished the gold standard, ending the ability for people to redeem US dollars for gold at the Federal Reserve, allowing the government full autonomy to freely print money, thus making the US dollar a fiat currency. Fiat currencies, which are now commonplace around the world, are not backed by tangible assets, only the promise from a government. So the current financial system that you have right now is only 50 years old. Money changes over time. Now, unfortunately, this led to currency manipulation and devaluation by governments to erode massive federal deficits at the expense of the consumer. Now, when my brother found out that I was in crypto for the first time, now my brother, he's a college graduate. He also has a doctorate degree. He's the only doctor in the family, Dr. Ivey. He was like, what is this crypto? It's like kryptonite or something? Well, I don't understand it. What is that? So as I was trying to explain it to him, he was like, well, cash is king. I mean, what, there's nothing backing Bitcoin. Cash is king. I mean, at least gold is backing the dollar. I said, say what? Gold is backing the dollar. I said, Devin, you were born in 1978. We have never been on gold-backed dollar in our entire life. They got off the gold standard in 1971. They don't teach financial literacy in school. The dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power since the mid-20th century as a result of inflation. This is why many financial planners stress investing in assets like stocks, gold, real estate, etc., rather than holding cash to preserve and grow wealth, given fiat loses its store of value over time. Do you understand that most millionaires and billionaires do not have cash? The average billionaire keeps anywhere between $25 to $50 million of cash in a bank because that's all they need to fund their day-to-day lifestyle. Where's the rest of the billions? It's not in the banks. It's in assets, gold, stocks, real estate. I just finished watching, is it Netflix? No, it was on Disney. Clips about the Clippers and Donald Sterling. If you're from LA, you know that story. Donald Sterling's wife wanted to sell the Clippers to the Microsoft guy, Steve Ballmer. And Donald Sterling said, no, this guy, because she was like, he wants to pay for it with $2 billion cash. And Donald Sterling, another billionaire, said, no, what idiot has $2 billion worth of cash? He'll run the company into the organization into the ground. He said, no. Now, Steve Ballmer ended up getting it anyway. But the wealthy look at money differently than everybody else. It's important to understand that the US dollar is the best transactional currency in the world. If I were stuck in the middle of the rainforest of South America, I would want US dollars, as it is the reserve currency of the world. For now, the US dollar is accepted nearly anywhere, but it is a terrible store of value. I saw a post of a gentleman that duplicated his Amazon order from like 4 years ago. Or was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, it was $120 something. He loaded the same cart with the same items today, and it was $400 and something for the same exact stuff. If you're working a job, are you getting a raise that's keeping up with that inflation? How do we keep up with this? See, I talked about this in the river of money. Wealthy people don't feel inflation because they make more money than inflation every single year. It's everybody else that feels it. Where if you were to make $90,000 a year, or was it 70,000? $70,000 or $90,000 a year in the 90s, to have the same exact lifestyle today, you would have to be earning $270,000 a year to have the same exact lifestyle as a $90,000 a year income in the 90s. But people still want to say cash is king. And the US dollar is being challenged around the world. Other nations are saying, you know what? We can avoid sanctions if we don't use the US dollar. We need to get on this crypto stuff, this digital currency, CBDCs, BRICS nations. And what's going to happen to the US dollar and our way of life when these nations stop buying our debt and they're able to do transactions independent of the United States? We are living on borrowed time right now in America. For a long time, gold has been considered the ultimate store of value. Now people are turning to cryptocurrencies as they are more secure, easier to store and transport, cheaper to use, and easier to subdivide than any asset known today. It is disrupting the international payments and transfer business by cutting out the exorbitant fees of banks and the middleman. The global remittance market, which is people working in one country and sending money back home to their families, as well as becoming the currency of the internet and fueling a new wave of global e-commerce. Now, the underlying point here is Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is not meant for paying for your Starbucks coffee instead of US dollars, but it is digital gold. Now, the basic concept is that cryptocurrency is roughly the equivalent of using PayPal or a debit card, except the numbers on the screen represent cryptocurrency instead of a fiat currency like a dollar. All you really need to do is set up an account with a crypto exchange service like Coinbase, use your fiat money from your bank, and purchase crypto. Cryptocurrency is roughly the equivalent of, oh, I forgot to delete that. That's my bad. Here we go. To use cryptocurrency, you don't need to understand it any more than you need to understand the monetary system to use a credit card. However, if you want to understand cryptocurrency, you need to understand the concept of digital currency, the concept of blockchain, both a ledger of transactions and a technology and the concept of cryptography. After all, cryptocurrency is a digital currency where transactions are recorded on a digital ledger called a blockchain, and every process along the way is secured by cryptography. And I said it yesterday, the idea of Bitcoin is not new. Since the 50s and 60s, when computers started coming around, the idea of having digital money has always been there. There was just no technology that allowed that to happen until now. Cryptocurrency works like a bank credit on a debit card in both cases. A complex system that issues currency and records transactions and balances works behind the scenes to allow people to send and receive currency electronically. The main difference between cryptocurrency and bank credit is that instead of banks and governments issuing the currency and keeping ledgers, and we learned about what ledgers are yesterday, it's like receipts, your bank statements, an algorithm does this. Now, is there any interest? There is tremendous interest in the cryptocurrency space right now, and equal parts confusion, uncertainty, and doubt. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, ICO, smart contracts, DeFi, NFTs, and metaverse. What do these even mean? The natural response to these foreign concepts is usually skepticism and rejection, but beneath the jargon lies a powerful new technology revamping our financial system. Bitcoin started as an experiment in the depths of the global financial crisis of 2008, aiming to build a better financial system. Who remembers what happened in 2008? We had the greatest recession since the Great Depression that happened, right? Banks too big to fail, or businesses too big to fail. The same people who got us in the crisis got bailed out with our taxpayer money. And the people said enough was enough. The whole Satoshi Nakamoto movement, that was a perfect time to say, you know what, in 2009, we can't trust the government to take care of us. We need our own independent financial system. And Bitcoin is created. Cryptocurrency has been described as the most disruptive technology since the internet. Stop right there. Where we are in technology with blockchain is around where the internet was in 1996, 97. That's where we're at right now. Back in those days, you still had David Letterman making fun of Bill Gates about email and internet and this stuff. We don't need this stuff. I don't even understand it. Has the internet changed the world? Could the world function today if the internet were to disappear tomorrow? My kids wouldn't know what to do. Heck, I wouldn't know what to do. Now, I grew up without the internet. I know how to survive without it. I can always go back. I mean, my childhood was great with no cell phones and all that stuff. But the world as we know it would cease. Blockchain technology that's creating Web3 is bigger than the internet. And I can prove it. In Crypto Talk, we learned that there's a reason why Larry Fink and BlackRock is moving into this space. The river of money is flowing to tokenization. How big is that? $867 trillion is on the move. So go back when I said this is the biggest economic shift in wealth in the history of mankind while we're alive right now. Think of all the centuries and millennium of humans being around. All your ancestors, your parents, your grandparents never had the opportunity or be alive to witness what is taking place right in front of us right now. And most people still stuck in the matrix and don't even know what's going on. That's why I do the 5-day challenge, to at least expose you to what's taking place so that you can now make the decision. Yeah, I think I need to know more about this. There's one thing about being ignorant. There's another thing about being willfully ignorant. After our 5-day challenge, if you choose not to be in this space, you're choosing willful ignorance. So I can fault you for that. I can't fault you for being ignorant. You just don't know. Nobody was there to tell you. Nobody was there to teach you. I'm here to teach you. This is the most disruptive technology since the internet. Those who don't understand it want to call it a fraud or a massive Ponzi scheme. Even Donald Trump called it that when he was president. But this year, he's speaking in Tennessee at the next Bitcoin convention. What? Jamie Dimon running his mouth saying that Bitcoin's going to get somebody killed and it should be outlawed, turned around 24 hours later and bought the biggest Bitcoin assets through a Swedish market illegally and was charged and found guilty for doing so. He just paid the fine. Said nobody's paying attention. Bank of America had 70 Bitcoin patents in 2016, while at the same time they were closing anybody's business account that was dealing with Bitcoin. You don't think the powers that be are not getting positioned? We should too. So what is cryptocurrency? Well, cryptocurrency is a digital currency that doesn't rely on central banks or trusted third parties to verify transactions and create new currency units. Instead, it uses cryptography to confirm transactions on a publicly distributed ledger called a blockchain. There are thousands of different cryptocurrencies in circulation, each with varying values. The first crypto, Bitcoin, was developed in 2009 by a programmer using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. In a 2008 white paper entitled A Peer-to-Peer Electronic Cash System, and if you are a part of the ILCA community, that is mandatory reading. You have to read the Bitcoin white paper. He said, Brandon, I am busy. I don't have time to do that. Okay. I recorded myself reading it on YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in Bitcoin white paper, Brandon Ivey, and I'll pull it up. And you just have me listen to me in the background. I read it. Blockchain is the technology that enables cryptocurrency to work like government-issued fiat currencies without the involvement of any central bank or trusted third party. Transactions are sent between peers from cryptocurrency wallets by matching up public codes which relate back to user-held private passwords, aka cryptographic keys. Transactions made between peers are recorded on a public ledger of transactions called a blockchain. All users of a given cryptocurrency have access to the ledger if they choose to download a full node wallet, as opposed to holding their coins in a third-party wallet like Coinbase. The transaction amounts are public, but who sent the transaction is encrypted. Each transaction leads back to a digital cryptocurrency wallet. So I can explain this to my kids like this. Remember I shared the story yesterday about my grandpa coming to visit and giving us, his grandkids, change, quarters, nickels, pennies. My first wallet was my pocket. That's what I used to keep my rugrat cousins from stealing my money. But then, where was I? Maybe in fifth grade, fourth or fifth grade, my dad gave me something, one of these, a wallet. And he said, because we used to have class field trips, so we'd have to have money on us. So he said, yeah, keep your money in your wallet. And my friends, when I pulled out my wallet, they thought I was rich. I didn't have no money in it, but I had a wallet which signified there's money in this thing. This is designed to protect and hold my cash. The concept hasn't changed. Now it's digital. It's digital. Your first digital wallet is your bank. How many of you have mobile banking and you have an app on your phone? Whether it's Bank of America, Chase, the others, you can open up your phone and access your bank, and you got a debit card that represents your money. You don't never have to take cash. If you go to Asia, they don't even use plastic anymore. Their wallet is their phone. They want to pay for something, they swipe their phone. Their phone is attached to their bank account directly. When crypto, your wallet is a virtual wallet that you have an address attached to it, like your home address. But there's no name attached to it, but only you have access to it. So now you become your own bank. You don't need the bank. You realize, I thought this was hilarious. Maybe 2 years ago, the NBA All-Star game was coming up, and all of the hip hop community, everybody comes out for that event, and it's a whole week-long weekend event. And some rapper, Lil Mumble rapper, whatever I forgot his name, he made some YouTube or TikTok video, and he was crying because he went to the bank and he wanted $200,000 or $150,000 cash so that he can spend it for the weekend at the strip club, at parties, at clubs, and show off to everybody. And he's holding up the stacks. He was like, they only gave me $75,000. I wanted $150,000, and they said I couldn't have my money. It's my money. I don't understand what's going on. Again, technically, he's correct. It's his money. But is it really? Whoever holds the gold owns the gold. Whoever holds the cash owns the cash. You got to go to the bank to get permission to get your money? My grandpa never trusted the banks. He always kept his cash hidden somewhere. But with crypto, there is no bank teller. There is no bank vault. You are the bank. That is both amazing and scary at the same time, because some of you shouldn't be trusted to have access to that money like that. Not because it's not yours, you're just not educated enough to know how to be a good steward of your money. So now you have to be responsible for your own money and not a third party. Now, all users of a given cryptocurrency have access to the ledger if they choose to download the full node. Each transaction leads back to a digital cryptocurrency wallet. Whoever owns the password or a key to the wallet owns the amount of cryptocurrency denoted on the ledger. When someone sends or receives cryptocurrency, when they send from one wallet to another wallet using a set of private and public passwords, that transaction is queued up to be added to the ledger. Many transactions are added to a ledger at once. These blocks of transactions are added sequentially. That is why the ledger and the technology behind it, is what we talked about yesterday, is called the blockchain. It is a chain of blocks of transactions. I explained it to my mom like this. I say, Mom, if you're going to send an email to somebody, what information do you need? She says, I need their email address. Okay, do you also need to have their first name and last name and telephone number and home address? No, I just need their email address. Interesting. Well, if you're going to send cryptocurrency from one wallet to another person, you don't need their name. You don't need their home address. You don't need their social security number. You don't need to go through KYC. All you need is their wallet address. And it's like sending an email. That way, my mom said, oh, okay, I get it. So it's nothing to be scared about. It's a simple concept. Now, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is digital money that is not issued or controlled by anyone. It is used to securely store and transfer any amount of value anywhere in the world. It is used to buy goods and services, store wealth, or send value to anyone without the permission of a third party. Often regarded as digital gold, Bitcoin that is stored properly cannot be hacked, stolen, or seized, thus giving people full proprietorship, much like having a Swiss bank account in their pocket. Unlike physical gold, Bitcoin is cheaper, faster, and more efficient to store or send anywhere in the world. Bitcoin is divisible to the 8th decimal place and is completely digital, allowing the transfer of any monetary value, opposed to government fiat currencies, which can be manipulated and devalued. And we all witnessed this with COVID. The government printed 40% of all money currently in circulation because of COVID, just out of thin air. Just Bitcoin cannot be created out of thin air. Work has to be done. That's why it's called proof of work. But your physical money, the government can just print more of that whenever they want and then tax you on it. With Bitcoin, there's only 21 million Bitcoins made available. Now think about that. Those of you in Get Fit, MoveQuest, there's only going to be 21 million MQT tokens. So now supply and demand. There are more millionaires and billionaires on the planet than there are Bitcoin. So what happens if every single one of them who can afford a $65,000 Bitcoin with no problem, they all want to have one whole Bitcoin? They can't. There's not enough to go around. They have the money to afford it. But what happens when that type of demand happens? All of a sudden, the value rises until it gets too high for most of those people that only a small amount can afford a whole Bitcoin. I've been saying this for years. The goal is to own one whole Bitcoin. If not that, at least a quarter of a Bitcoin, and forget you have it for your family. Not for you to spend, but to pass on to the next generation. Because if you do so, just within the next 5 to 10 years, you'll be in the top 1% of all asset holders in the world. Just by having a quarter of a Bitcoin right now. So Bitcoin is the internet of money and will do for finance what the internet did for communication. Currently, there is almost 19 million Bitcoin in circulation. Say, whoa, it's almost all out. Well, no, because of the halving event, it's going to take another 120 years before the last piece of a Bitcoin is mined. So how does it work? Well, the Bitcoin network is a peer-to-peer network that runs on a decentralized, distributed, self-clearing ledger called the blockchain. Units of currency that run on the Bitcoin network are called Bitcoins, which are used to store and transmit value among network participants. Unlike most currencies issued by central banks, which can be devalued and manipulated, Bitcoins are issued according to a fixed set of rules to create sound money that can't be manipulated by a central authority or malicious actor. In other words, it's based on math. Math. It can't be manipulated. What did we say last night about voting on the blockchain? It can't be manipulated. You guys heard me say yesterday in the Get Fit presentation, I said the whole Avalanche launch, I thought it had a 75% chance of failure, not because of the program. The program was programmed perfectly, but because of the uneducated community trying to use it. Fortunately, I was wrong. It was a wild success. But it was a success because of the community. Y'all came together. So I was very proud with that. Users can buy or sell goods and services, send money to people or organizations, or even extend credit in a fast, secure, and borderless manner. The only prerequisite for access to these coins is an internet connection and a private key that forms a pair with public-facing keys to provide access to the coins stored on the Bitcoin network. Unauthorized access to someone's private key is similar to stealing gold from their vault. So Bitcoin's core value proposition. One of the first things that people think about when they learn about Bitcoin is payments. Every financial transaction we make, either with Venmo or our banks, has at least one intermediary that sits in the middle and takes a little cut. And that's big business. You know, the banks want their cut. The lawyers want their cut. The judges want their cut. The system wants to cut. The government wants their cut. What if you can cut all of them out? What if you could transact with one another in a peer-to-peer way without needing permission? All we need is an internet connection, and we can send money to anyone without anyone's permission in the same way that the internet allows us to send information. Philosophically, Bitcoin assures that the money you have earned is yours and enforces the idea that you can truly own your wealth. Payments and being a medium of exchange is an important part of Bitcoin's value proposition, but it's not the only part. Bitcoin is a highly censorship-resistant and permissionless store of value. Using the Swiss bank account analogy, there is about $20 trillion worth of wealth in the world stored in offshore bank accounts and shell companies by major companies and many individuals. This is not illegal. Rather, it's to lawfully shield those assets from creditors, taxation, legal jurisdictions, or even corruption. Bitcoin and other crypto assets fulfill this void and many others to a much greater extent as the first uncensorable and unseizable asset in history. Now, why should you own Bitcoin? You may want to own some Bitcoin for the same reasons why you should invest in anything, to maintain or increase your standard of living over time. This is especially important in the face of inflationary pressures and the fact that fiat currencies are a terrible store of value. Owning Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency is a choice. That is why we're here to educate you so you can make an informed decision. Everyone should build a diversified portfolio to secure their financial futures and enable them to achieve what they want most in life. Crypto assets could play an important role in that, as many believe Bitcoin and blockchain-based assets are one of the greatest technological innovations and will represent the greatest wealth creation event of our time. In 2009, Bitcoin was worth less than 1 penny to the US dollar. Oh my God, that's crazy. Today, Bitcoin is worth over $65,000. It may be time that you make the choice. As a disclaimer, this information is intended for educational and training purposes only and should not be construed as investment advice. As with all financial decisions, you should contact your licensed financial advisor before investing in any financial instrument. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of our lesson tonight. So what's going to happen next is we're now going to go into Q&A session with our VIP members. The VIP members are those you see on the screen with me right here. So I'm going to have to stop the live stream on YouTube and go to just our VIP members so that you can ask Professor Sistrunk and myself questions. Those of you on YouTube, we thank you guys for taking time out. I hope you learned something new. As always, that's the point. We will be back tomorrow night for night 3 of our Crypto 5-Day Challenge. We have a special guest panelist, and that is going to be Brother Prelvis Lofties. So you can hear his story, how crypto walked him off his job. So you're going to hear from Prelvis Lofties tomorrow night. We invite you to be in the VIP with us cool kids. Go to ilcacryptonews.com for $49 so that you can be on this side with us and get your questions answered. And there's no such thing as a bad question or a stupid question. We all had a beginning somewhere. All of us. We're here to learn. This is a safe space and a safe environment. So thank you guys for being here with us on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and end that live stream, and we'll see you guys on YouTube tomorrow night, same time, same link. And hopefully you'll make the decision to be on the VIP with us so you can continue learning with us. But we'll see you tomorrow night.